All right, now I'm recording. What's up, Zach?
Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
Good. How are you on this first day of PC20?
I am super excited for the conference. We are here early before the conference. I've already driven
Correct.
40 minutes to drop a kid off, and I am ready to look at some vizzes.
Awesome. So we've got a number today for the ProjectHealthViz kind of speed recap from the months that I had missed, as we all have been a little busy the last couple months. So this time around, I brought you on because I'm sending some of your stickers out to some people. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to have someone else kind of go over some vizzes with me that were submitted last week by folks in the community. And there were a lot of new folks, some old folks. So it was really cool to see what people did with a quick little data set on greenhouse gas emissions, which in my exploration found out that it can cause like pandemics. So that was kind of a nice bit of information. Yeah. As the world heats up, those things that cause, viruses and bacteria or whatever, more likely to survive. So I guess we want this stuff to go away. We need to get on track with our reducing our carbon footprint, right?
It'd be nice.
Yeah, right. All right, so cool. So thanks, Zach, for joining me. Let's just get right into it then. All right, so the first one we got here is from Kelly Tan. And I remember when she had posted this, she shared that kind of she was trying some new charts out. So yeah, use the waffle chart and then kind of this tree map bar chart kind of thing. So you can go first. What do you think?
I like the color choices and I like the use of white space. There's plenty of room to sort of let the viz breathe. And I think it was some interesting chart types to sort of draw a little attention beyond what you might get if you used, like a pie chart for sure.
Yeah, I don't use waffle charts too much, but I think this was, a useful way to kind of like separate out these four larger like sectors and then kind of make it really visually impactful about how big energy one is, which is what she focuses on, because then she only kind of draws in on that one in the below section. So yeah, I think it was a good attempt for like a unconventional chart type for trying it out, which I think is great when people do that,
It's worthwhile. It was parts to a whole, and it was kind of tricky because there were lots of subparts to it, and choosing to focus on the bigger energy story and parsing that out into the sub story, I think was a good choice.
Yeah, I like the colors too. They're just simple but effective. I like them, and I like the use of the annotations. I don't always see it too often that people are doing legit annotations that are in Tableau, but they're really convenient, super easy to use. So
especially in a project like this where it's data at rest, like if you were at work and you're having to make something that's refreshing all the time, it's a lot harder to do because your data might change. But in this case, when you know it's not going anywhere, it's the perfect opportunity to do that. Yeah,
really good point. All right, so then we have Pratik's, which he did kind of the mobile viz. So this was also another one of the joint Iron Viz, ProjectHealthViz ones that was submitted. I think there were a couple of those, and so his was the mobile. So I actually want to see if I can open this one up. Can you see the internet when I did that or no? Probably not.
No, and I'm not going to fake it. But no, I appreciate that some folks went double duty this month, and I'm feeling dead air as Lindsay messes around on the internet. But this month, I'm doing this for both ProjectHealthViz and IronQuest. So it's exciting to see people that use the opportunity to work on mobile design and incorporated that into their ProjectHealthViz as well. Mobile design is something I feel like is sort of a lacking skill set in our community because no one really is used to doing it super much, or if there are, it's very few folks. So taking the opportunity to get some reps in, I think it's valuable. And I think the format that he chose, where it's like columnar, you're working your way down the page like that, and also sort of going minimalist with the colors as well. It's this monochromatic set. There we go. That looks great.
Yeah, let's see if I can make this a little. So what I liked about this is he said there was no calculations in it. You just click on one of these and it pops up this little, probably this, I don't know how that was, in the bottom section, which I thought was pretty Clever.
That's a
Just
lot of
super
fun.
simple, but I
Those
love
segments
it.
are just big enough to be clickable with like your thumb, you know?
Yeah, and I think if you, yeah, there you go. You can even go one more down. So you've got like all all the little sectors in these kind of cascading tree maps, which I thought was kind of clever.
That's a lot of fun. I like that interactivity.
Right, and like here, so he's got something behind it, obviously the text, and then fills in and kind of makes it super easy with some really nice tooltips and what have you in there. Yeah, so this was like one of my favorites. I thought, yeah, the monochromatic. I rarely do like black and white. I see some folks do it. And it's really effective, like when it's done well. And you think about the whole concept of like only show the data or let the data show, right? And so if you don't really need color, like don't use it. And so this is kind of one where I'm like, yeah, you're right. You totally don't really need color. Like there's no real need for it.
I
The
appreciate the
size tells
boldness.
me everything I need.
Like I'm a dude that loves color, and the fact that like by removing color, you're removing that as a pre-attentive attribute, meaning I'm not drawing any meaning by looking at any of the color. So it's
Yeah.
strictly using the charts to tell me something, and I think it's pretty sweet.
Very good. That'll be your challenge. You doing a black and white viz. That'll be a first.
I did once. Kevin told me to add color.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, all right. Can we see this back again? I hope.
Here we're seeing some of that nice modern design that we're getting a lot more of lately.
Models, yep.
Rounded, soft edges, drop shadows.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, this one wasn't mobile, but yeah, so we see a lot of this kind of new morphism, what have you. And I go kind of back and forth on my opinions on it. So in this particular one, I think there's a lot of it. And so my recommendation is to kind of pick the use of that for one aspect of it. So in this case, I'm not sure that we need the I don't even know which way you call them, but where they're pushed in for the text, I'm not sure that that's quite as necessary. And same with some of the others, but like having that like tab kind of pop out, like those header titles, I think, maybe pick one area where you're using kind of these drop shadows and, inner highlights or what have you to kind of draw attention or bring something useful to it. But that would be my recommendation here for how to use those effectively, because you don't want to do it too much with anything, right? Like moderation is probably best.
I'm going to go concave and convex. So
I
actually really like the first one that's kind of concave, it's like dented into the page. I think it's an effective way to sort of draw a border around it. Like we're always doing something like that, using color or space to separate your different charts. And then like some of the ones with the waist one right below that, it's actually doing a 2-layered convex where it's coming out with a tab below it. It kind of looks like a file folder. And then it's a concave one to the side of it. I think like the restraint of the first one is excellent. Like I love that, and I think it was highly effective. And then I think the other three maybe went just a little bit too far, but I appreciate the thought behind it. So I think this was definitely a like worthwhile experiment to get in the reps with trying that out and sort of finding what the balance is between the two.
Definitely. Yeah. I've been spending a lot more time exploring things in like programs like Figma as well. So, you learn kind of what works and what doesn't work by experimenting, which I think is what's great here. But I have found it very fun to start, as you kind of say, like flex your muscles in these other tools and then see how they can be useful, and you kind of continue to tailor how you use them, right? So yeah, and then here the other thing is we have these I don't know what you call those, kind of these line segment charts that like separate out. They're not really like Sankey's, but whatever we call them. I'm not really convinced how that they're working, other than separating out some of the text and giving this kind of like flair to it, because it looks like the heat map kind of on the side is what's giving me the perspective of size. So I'm sure Mal is, testing and experimenting with a bunch of different things, which I think, like you said, is definitely useful, but I'm not sure that the chart type and then the colors in it is giving me exactly what I might need to understand the data.
I think what's missing for me on the side of those, and again, I forget what they're called. I know Tuan sort of uses them quite a bit in his demos.
Yeah.
they sort of caught on lately, would be a chart to the left of it that it's then sort of breaking apart.
Right.
But without it, I mean, already it's effective with the highlight chart on the right. I mean, you've got this
Yeah.
nice heat map dispersing your values across. So it's sort of, it's nice, it's a design element, but without a sort of complement to the side of it to say, this is what I'm splitting apart.
Right. Yeah. No, good point. So here we have one for C, and she did also, I think, this is the mobile, another mobile design one, which is kind of cool. Let me see if I can also pull hers up, because I think the mobile ones are really cool to see on.
Vamping while you do this. I know I did mobile design for Iron Quest this month, having never done it before, and mine does not work on a desktop. I actually threw something on there.
Really?
So when you try to pop it up, it just says, please open on mobile.
Oh yes, I saw that. That was cool.
Now, mind you, I don't know if I did anything right, but like that one aspect of it, and clearly the fact that Luke Stanky won in the pizza versus tacos argument. Although I'll say his argument that put him over the top was fallacious, because there is no such thing as leftover tacos in the fridge, because you ate them all the first time.
That's a really good point. I know. I was like, ew, like why would you save a taco? You're gonna eat it because it's a taco.
It's a taco.
Yeah. I don't want tacos for breakfast. I want them now. Yeah, so hers, you know, let's see here. We got some information. And so she has this, we've got kind of the size, she's using the footprints of the size of the different the large sectors. And then we have this pedal chart that's breaking down all of them, all these subsectors. And we have from a pedal chart to a bar chart. I think in the bar chart, if you click one, yeah, she's got kind of that set action kind of expansion to break out one bar chart into multiple ones. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I like the set drill down. I actually, I didn't know that was called a pedal chart, but I'm glad it's labeled on there for my benefit, and I'm glad that you're aware. I think it's a fun chart type. I think it's not as clear as a bar chart, but I think we all know that. This was a design element choice to grab the attention, and she sort of had the wherewithal to say, hey, I'm also going to give you the option of looking at this as like sorted bars to get to the data itself, but on the front page, I'm giving you like a splashy design element to get your interest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and one of the tricky things with mobile that I've experienced having to build some for clients as well is that, you know, that constraint, that size constraint is tough sometimes for bar charts. You know, you have, like, this is an example of, you don't have a lot of room, and when your text takes up so much space, your bar chart kind of can look a little funny. And so it's interesting because any type of radial chart fits a little better in like a square space, clearly, you know, or in a mobile. Granted, they're not as effective, but I can see why it's like, hey, I fit all this information, you know, here, whereas in a bar chart, I have to give you all these expansion segments because it doesn't fit very well. So it's just interesting how you kind of have to make some concessions or choices when you're doing some mobile design. So this was like, that was just clear to me when you do both of them, like how hard it is sometimes to put, you know, bar charts in a mobile view.
I will say this, the pedal chart does have a nice ability to sort of highlight the most prominent values immediately. I mean, not unlike a bar, when you see the longest bar, it pops out. Just like this, you're going to notice the biggest values. It's going to be much harder to get to the smallest values, but that's just any chart where like some values overwhelm the others.
Yeah, I do wonder why she didn't choose to sort them, unless, you know, you kind of want it to look like this firework explosion. Obviously, if you sort it, it looks more like a nautilus. But you can sort pedal charts just like you would a bar chart and then have them actually in that order, which may allow you to see where one sector like energy or whatever, the one in green might be higher than one in the energy sector. So just a thought. I mean, in a mobile design, you could always put in another button that says, you know, sort highest to lowest, or, you know, this probably is sorted, maybe it could be alphabetically or something. But
now I'm just curious to see that view, because as we know, Lindsay likes a Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio.
Yeah, it would be an interesting thing to have both of them as an option. All right, so we got Kamal Singh's. This is another mobile view, I believe, which is cool because I do like all these mobile views. And I'd like to get this one up here because this one's got some good stuff as well.
I like the plus sign drill downs on the set actions to sort of draw attention to, hey, look, there's an interactivity here that you can take advantage of.
I have to keep doing it this way, but that's okay. Yep, yeah, so here it is in mobile, and it's kind of probably tiny, but so we have that little, let's see if I get it to work. There we go. Yeah.
With animations.
That action, yeah, we got a little, oh, nice. That's cool. Oh, cool. Yeah.
And just in terms of labels, I really like using the pipe delimited to sort of separate. I think that's nice.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This is one of my bigger challenges with Tableau, though. I kind of hate how, I know I have to make a choice with a dark background and, you have the black, and then that's a tough one with the black text on colors that you might not be able to see otherwise. So it's you either got to change your color, see there, it turned white, that's good. But you have to pick colors that are going to work good with black when you have a white background, because I think some of these get a little hard to read. That would be my only comment or feedback on some of the labeling. But I like that the choice was labeling it in the bar.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, with some of the headers.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's you're limited by the space. So if you try to put the headers to the side, then your bars are going to be about this big, and then they're just extremely difficult to differentiate. There was going to have to be some compromise somewhere in this. That's mobile.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. What is this? Swap the view. Oh, how about that? Now we have a whole other chart. Let's see. So we got a radial bar chart.
You got that sequential sort you were looking for. It's a little Apple Watch-ish here. It's small and it's circular. I honestly think I prefer the other view. I mean, this is a fun view, obviously, because it looks interesting, but the other one tells you more.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, I know the space gets a little funny when it's not quite circular. I don't like when they get squished. I know that Kevin Fleur has a whole blog and workbook on kind of do this, don't do this kind of thing. And this is one of those pet peeves of a squished circle. It's like a flattened basketball. So, and so that's tough. And you have to have enough space for these kind of circular ones. They really look better when they're circle.
We call this a Peyton Manning. It's slightly deflated.
Right.
I mean, oh
exactly.
Gosh, no. I mean, not Peyton Manning.
Tom Brady. I know what you're talking about. Tom Brady. Yeah.
I don't know sports ball.
Okay. And then we have Siddharth, who has got, it's interesting. So some of the themes I'm noticing is people doing two different charts and giving you an option to see both, because this one has the Voronoi, or however we say that, chart, and then there's an option for the tree map. So I know how to read it, I just don't say it out loud very often. So yeah, so we have both as options here in terms of the tree map. And he does have a tree map drill down where you can click on each section. And this is an example of that. Let's see. Again too. And I actually haven't seen the Voronoi in a while, to be honest. There was a big
they were hot for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the racing bar chart of the early 2020s.
Exactly. There we go.
And that's not to say there's no use case for it. It's a chart.
Yeah, I mean, I've done them before. There we go. Let's see. So what I think is cool here is, I believe if you, let's see. Yeah, so what I like is we do have like some text that shows up for each segment, which is, a really nice touch of having more information in here about what all these actually mean. And then here's the tree map. So it drills down into, I guess, one of the, oh yeah, there you go, you go back. So we've got energy, we can drill into agriculture, and then it goes here. And then it'll take me
I'm
back.
of two minds on the alternate charts. It's like on one hand, I like people sort of going for it and saying, hey, look, I have an alternate view. On the other hand, and this is like the designer in me, like don't be lukewarm. Like let's do one or the
Like
other.
commit?
Like yeah, if you want to really do the Veroni chart, like I want
Like,
you
do it.
all in on this. Like don't pull out at the last minute and give me a tree map. I mean, I'm partly joking, but yeah, it's like
No, it's a good point. Yeah.
I think the first chart is what you really want to do, and then you're hedging a little bit. Like if you really want this chart to work, go all in on it. Like prove it's the chart you really want.
Yeah, I like that take on it. So, I mean, I think sometimes folks end up feeling like, oh, if I do this chart, knowing that it's not the best in data viz, that I'll get some flack for it. And so folks are putting in an alternative to say, well, like I wanted to do this one, but I'm going to give this because I don't want to get in trouble for doing a chart that's not effective or, people are going to disagree with. But yeah, it's a good point. It's like be able to defend it if you really liked it and do it. Yeah. I mean, because I think it does get a little confusing. It's like, well, which one am I supposed to be looking at? So I think it's cool that people are doing options. That's an interesting take on things to say, here's two ways to look at it. One may be more effective for you or for, what you like. And, my biggest comment for these, and I had said this to him on Twitter, was that I'm not a big fan of like Tableau's colors, like default colors in use, because they're so obviously Tableau's default, and we're very familiar with them. And so I think using some other colors is, in my opinion, worthwhile doing, and really taking some time to figure out what colors are best for your visualization. And I'd also say in the tree map, as we've seen in some of the others, I'm not sure the color is necessary at all. Like I have the label and I had all the values that I need, so I don't necessarily need the colors. That's what
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
You got size. Size is plenty on the tree map.
Yeah, exactly.
Saying this, having done all of these myself, so please be aware.
We've all done this before.
So yeah, right. Like, don't take any feedback I give as me claiming to be better than you. Like, I'm not.
None of us are. I mean,
I saw this and I liked the fun squigglies when I first saw it.
I know, I did too. I was like, wow, that is really clever. And this is, one of the few I've seen in a long time that have like a horizontal view instead of like a long form. I don't know, we call this like a wide form, I suppose.
Widescreen.
But again, yeah, well, it was really cool because when you think about how you're designing something, we talked earlier about kind of mobile lends itself to certain chart types, perhaps because of the width that you have available. And so right here, when we have like this dot strip plot, which you can see in the top, like that obviously lends itself to like a wide, view, because you wouldn't want to squish that in, let's say, a little square on a mobile device. So I think choosing this longer wide view was effective for the charts that were being chosen. You know what I mean? Yeah, this one's really, I think really well done, laid out. Love the white space. Love the muted colors. I think there was a lot of good design choices here.
Even the donut chart, like I know a lot of people don't love pies and donuts, but this is an appropriate use. Like it's got one value that's clearly huge and it's sort of drawing attention to that. And it doesn't have more than 5 things on there. So everything is sort of clear. It has enough room to breathe, and it's an appropriate use.
Yeah, and they're all labeled. So, I don't have to guess. And I think that's helpful with exact percentages. So I can see it from afar and get a really good picture of how this all slices out. But I can see everything I need to see as well. So I don't have to guess. And I really like this, we're starting there and then breaking that down in the dot strip plot, which are one of my, favorite charts, actually. They're not used terribly often, but I think it's a really effective way. Instead of having, say, a bar chart where you have all these values, instead we've just stripped them here on those same axes along their sector, and I can see which one's biggest and which one's smallest. But look how much less space it takes up than a bar chart that has all those bars like we've seen in some of the others. So I think that was a really like a good idea to use this chart for that data.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, definitely really nice viz. Juanma, so this one we have some more of that neumorphism type of layout, and then some simple charts in here. And another donut.
In this one, with the neomorphism, I'm going to have to pick a bone that I think you were picking last time. Again, I like the outline. Like, I like that it's sort of popping the entire thing out of the page. I think the downfall of it in this case is that the other design elements of it are using Tableau's out of the box square format. Since Tableau has like no native like built-in, hey, round my corners, unless you count the annotations that you can throw on, you know, like it's around the edges of that. By using the defaults on here, they're
actually slightly round. They are rounded. They're just rounded at a different.
It's slightly rounded
level.
It's slightly rounded, but it's not rounded the same. That's what's getting me. It looked sharp by comparison.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like squinting and getting real close to the camera now. But yeah, it's okay. I'm going to revise my statement and I'm going to apologize. But yes, it's not out of the box, but it's not rounded to the same degree. So it threw me because the first thing I'm looking at is I'm seeing the donut chart with energy 73%. And then the next thing I notice is, but why aren't those the same? Like that's what's getting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I had said this to him on Twitter because I was caught off guard by the same discrepancy between like the angles of the roundedness, which I think is important to have them match. You know, you really want the eye to flow from one to the other and it feel like they're contained together. They're all like hugging each other, but this feels like, what happened? The other thing is I'm not sure it's all necessary. So right, like we have those shadings around every single portion of that, and when everything is kind of has this background shading, I'm not sure the purpose of it, other than it's like separating the things, each element from each other. But we have got a lot of white space actually in this viz. I think would do a good job of that anyhow. You know, nothing's too crowded. So I think just white space would also help, or maybe subtle lines instead of doubling up on the layers.
I'm going to say you might not have needed any of it. Like, I don't know if any of it's needed. And even the call out below the 73.2% of greenhouse gas, it feels a little redundant to the donut chart. So, I mean, I think there's quality stuff here. I just think I think they got really excited sort of on the idea of that neomorphism. Yeah. And it sort of became a project about some of that. I think the charts themselves are appropriate choices. I might have rounded the bars at the top just because there are so many other rounded elements on here to sort of embrace that aesthetic. But I mean, I don't think it's bad in any way. I just think like the gray is like almost unnecessary entirely. There's all that white space.
Yep. Yeah. I also think in the, so one of the things that I usually recommend to my students that I have in the course I teach is, and I'm just going to point this out here, is reducing your decimal points. So I usually have a problem when I see 2 decimal places for values that don't need them, or also for an audience that doesn't need that level of detail. And I would say the audience probably doesn't need that level of detail. So I would at least reduce that to 1. I think you'll get just fine. There's nothing down here that's going to suddenly like round differently at 0.1. If they all have like a 0 after it, so I would get rid of that 0. It just cleans up having a little less text all over the visual. And also, I'm not exactly sure why the axes on the bar chart looks like it must be fixed at some value. I don't think that's necessary because I think there's some filtering that might be in this one. I could pull it up, but so it makes it really hard when we have these lower values that they all get kind of squished at the bottom of the chart. But I'd like to see like the whole size of them if it's a segment, reduction in the data points. All right, moving on, got a couple more to go. We got Shivam. And so this one, I think these, I'm gonna just pull this one up because it might be easier to see on public. Oh, no, that did not work. Never mind.
Oh no.
I'm
blaming you for that.
That was totally my fault. I don't know. So this is another actually black and white. You know, we've got a monochromatic one, which is kind of cool to see another one of these. So we have like a, you know, one-way Sankey. We've got everything and then splitting it out into the segments. And then the tree map at the bottom. So my first thought is I don't think this is the right way to use like the Sankey, because we're starting with the same size and all we're doing is just splitting them out a little bit. Like it's not like things are crossing over or we're getting from one thing and splitting out the pieces. We're starting with the split already. Feels a little not sure what I'm supposed to gain from it other than the size of things, which again I think a bar chart would have been just fine in that case.
Well, I think they need a little more space to breathe. So they're using the pipe limit, which I'm a fan of, but like maybe a couple spaces on either side of the pipe so that you can split that waste off from the 3.20%. Also, that's weird. That one has 2 decimal places and the rest have 1. Just that. I mean, Sankeys aren't bad charts if you're using them for, something that's sort of showing changes between stuff. In this case, it was kind of a parts to a whole situation. So the real story is that the energy on there, which is the set 3.2%, and especially once you've thrown color on it and the weight of that black fades everything else out. Like if you're looking at this and your monitor isn't like tuned that well, those other ones disappear right into the background.
Yeah, they're very light. That's not true. And it looks like it drills down into then the sectors and the subsectors, and then even the further when you click on here. So I like the folks that have done kind of that drill path through like the tree map, where you can click one and then you see what that's broken out into. I will say, tree maps I think are tricky because typically they are meant to show a hierarchy where you would have all those subsectors within, so down here we have this energy and industry, like you would already have that broken out because that's how a tree map is supposed to be, a hierarchical chart. So what I've seen though is a lot of people are just doing the one level and then you drill down into the next. So I go back and forth on, the use of tree maps and what they're intended for, and then how sometimes I see them where it's really, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
In this case, I think I would have just gone bars all day long for both of them. And I think that's something we're coming back to a lot with this one.
Right.
Like everyone's kind of still having a lot of fun with Sankeys right now. And I mean, everyone wants to make one. And I think it's good practice to a community exercise is sort of a great way to get some of those reps out of the way so that you can try it out. I think in this case though, like maybe the data type wasn't the right choice for it. But yeah, if you just did bars for both of these, and at the bottom if you wanted to do set, or I mean honestly you could just have one set of bars and do the drill down from the set actions into energy. So I mean your chart for this entire exercise could be as simple as just that one and then sort of digging through the layers of it. I mean it's all its design choices and stuff like that.
Exactly, that's true. Yep. Yeah, I like the title and I like some of the simple text to give some subheaders and what have you to kind of flow into the chart and give some perspective initially. So I like when folks do that, give some context, but it's not too much. So I think it was just enough to kind of make sure I know what I'm looking at and why it's important. And yeah, awesome. Here's Michelle's Going Green on the Roads. So she has, let's see. So she has all of the different breakouts, those And then 12% of energy is from road. So she focused on the energy from the road, which is interesting. So as being one of the highest portions, I believe, of, let's see, one of the highest subsectors, I think. Let's see if I can pull hers up. Oops.
I think it's interesting how she tied her title and color to the energy for transport road. So she sort of used this green color to guide you through the various charts, which I think is a smart design choice, like using that common element, like without even having to just hit you over the head with it. The fact that it's being used in the title, you're seeing the 12%, you see the 12% on the dots, you see the green down below. It all ties together very nicely. It's like using like some kind of alert color on a chart to like let people know when something's up. In this case, you're doing it because rather than focusing on the energy, which so many people have done, which is a valid choice. It's all depending on what story you want to talk about. In Michelle's case, she chose to focus on the road, and she used the green throughout to sort of keep you focused on the road. I might have just gone the same color for everything else. I don't know.
Oh, you mean like all of these, just have them be like gray or something?
Yeah, like I might have done that. I mean, not that I think this is wrong or anything. I mean, it effectively breaks stuff apart on the tree map below. But we were saying with tree maps, like, do you even need color? I don't know.
Right.
Especially in this case, if the main story is about the road, maybe just keep everything else the same color and just have the road pop out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I like that idea. And so I was actually a little confused at first because these are the three or the four in gray are the main sectors, and then the 12% is actually the largest portion, I think, of energy. Or it's a big, is it the largest? Yeah, okay, that's definitely, yeah. So the way this bracket, it was like a bracket to me. So I was like, oh, is the 12% also like a part, like this obviously doesn't add up to 100. So I got a little confused initially. I see what she's doing where this is kind of saying, hey, this 12% comes out of the 73. But I think this header right here, select a sector to filter, got like a bracket over everything. So that's why I pulled it up on public, so I was a little confused at first. So I wonder if just having that bracket, if it's a bracket, kind of just go to waste and then have some other way to highlight the road, something to make sure I know that the whole is these other four sectors and the road part is actually a portion of energy.
I think what I might change there, the smallest change to get the most, is I'd flip that bracket to be below and just put an arrow. So like from the 73 to the 12, so it's more pointing directly to it, because definitely like looking at that, it feels like it's saying these are all together. Yeah. And in reality, it's trying to say this 12 is out of the 73. Right. So maybe doing that.
Yeah, exactly. An arrow, something, because it feels like a bracket. And then she's got down here, this is the same on the right-hand side, this stacked bar chart is the same 73, 18, 5, and 3, broken out this way in kind of like a smokestack fashion. And then we have all these little bubbles, which are each portion of it. So over here,
the chimney.
Exactly. Which, to be honest, I like that like little design aspect of making it reflect on what the topic is. Although I will say what we're showing is the same data that's being shown in the tree map and the bands in just a different way. So we're kind of duplicating the data again for a different.
You might just scrub the entire tree map, focus on making the header to be vertical instead of horizontal, and have it next to that smokestack.
Right. I mean, that's like all the information right there. I think the only difference is you get some labels out here, but even with tree maps, like you can't get labels on everything. So you're still having to, look into it, hover over, which you have to do up here. But, I think I want to engage more with the smokestack thing. I want to hover over these circles a little more than I want to engage with the tree map. So yeah.
Points for playfulness with the smokestack. And I'm going to go back to what I said with the Brony chart. Like, Michelle, you wanted to do the smokestack. Go all in on the smokestack throughout the tree map.
Exactly. Yeah. Good call. All right. Then we've got we got Mark Bradbourne's here. And so this is an interesting chart. Like I don't even know, it's like what we call this, but which we have our stacked bar chart, which clearly gives us this really like huge visual impact about the energy portion of this in the blue, and then how it all breaks out into the different subsectors.
I'll say that Mark had a lot of fun with this. And I think like some people might debate, is this a topic to have fun with? And I'm like, it's informative. Like if it gets me to engage with it, then I say fun is okay. So in this case, like the colors are super vivid and it makes you just sort of, your eyes are drawn to it. The chart for the 73.2% might be a little challenging at first, but I think it does an effective job of breaking out those subgroups. I don't know, maybe for like the annotations, especially for like transport and stuff like that, maybe like revert to your original color on the left for those, just to differentiate them a little bit. But overall, I like this one a lot.
Yeah. I mean, he used the space well in terms of having like that text on the left. You get the big chart, and then all the other annotations, at least for energy, are on the right. So, and then, you know, we're fine with having all that space at the bottom because that's not necessarily the focus. And I like that. I do like the colors. I know they're bright, but I don't know, they kind of work. The text is super tiny on the annotations and what have you. I'm sure there just wasn't probably not enough room. But I know it's probably tough for some folks to read. And I agree that the annotations that are on the right feel like a little crowded in there. Like I feel like I would like that white space back. And maybe there's like another place to still put them where they don't get so squished next to the labels.
I agree with that. Like, I think maybe like the readability, you sacrifice a little bit with those. There might be a better way to do it. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even something that was like a show hide container, like, you know, click here for more information on, well, something more clever than click here for more information, but you know, something that would, you know, you could pop up that box over top of that particular section, and you know, that might be a little slick way to have that show up, and then you can close it, but that way it's out of the way but yet useful for people. Kind of like, you know, a filter menu where you pop it open, it just has a little bit of transparency. You can read what you need to read and put it back.
Yeah,
so pretty cool. And I think we've got three more. So Fleur Streets, we've got one here with some of the similar elements we've seen in some of the others, with the bands at the top breaking out the sectors, and then we have the bar chart here that are even further broken out. So we have kind of these stacked bars that are going on. And
I mean, I like the colors. I think they look nice. Again, a focus on energy as the biggest sector. They did this fun sort of dual axis thing, so you could have the percentages on the ends, but also have the bars subdivided. And I assume on hover, those tell you what's going on in the individual segments. I mean, there's a lot of different choices going on in a lot of people's charts today, and some of them are more editorial, where they're trying to like actually tell you, hey, this is what's happening, and others are more of sort of a business view where they expect it to be more exploratory. And this is one of the more exploratory views, where I'm just going to provide you with the information, and it's incumbent on you to sort of be curious. Having said that, I think it does a pretty good job with sort of drawing attention to energy as the biggest and saying, hey, look here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we've said like totally could just go for a bar chart, and obviously this one is, which I think is definitely effective. I mean, I know from greatest to smallest what everything is. I can make those comparisons. So from an understanding the data perspective, it's, you know, it's effective. I don't have to do a whole lot of work to figure it out. As you said, it's more of like a business dashboard where it's not, or feels more like that, where it's not providing you any additional context or information, or now that you know this, go do this. You know, it's not that type of dashboard, which is totally fine, right? It's not an infographic. It's not trying to persuade me of anything. It's just showing me the numbers essentially, which, you know, is refreshing as well, because that's what we do a lot in our regular work, is we've got to show the data, right? People have to make decisions or you provide it so that someone can make those decisions. So I can make a decision to say, I'm interested in energy, like what's going on with energy and industry, and I may want to look at those other bars that are within it to see what is contributing for energy and buildings and things like that. So yeah, and I agree. Like the colors are good. That yellow pops really well off the black. I think black backgrounds can be tricky sometimes because I really have to make sure that the colors, you can see them well, and that the black is a good choice. Sometimes I think that it's unnecessary. In this case, I think it works really well with the colors selected and making a really bold color statement with the yellow.
Yeah, readability is good. Oftentimes with black backgrounds, especially if your text is too light, then you sort of get that eye strain. In this case, I think it's a really good balance. It's slightly grayish text, which is still readable and big enough. And yeah, good choices.
Yeah, awesome. Then we have the Grazitti Interactive. So this one has a similar kind of sunburst chart that was in the original visualization from our world with data. So it looks like they took kind of that approach with recreating that, and then we have kind of a highlight table on the right.
I mean, for me, the highlight table is where it's at if you want the information. In terms of do you want to look at this? I think like obviously the sunburst chart really pulls you in, but obviously, I keep saying obviously, for most people, if you're not sort of already in DataViz, you're gonna look at that and be like, wow, that's a thing, and not really know how to navigate it. But yeah, I mean, in this case, it's kind of preaching to the choir because clearly they're submitting it to a public data project. We're all data nerds already, so we're gonna look at that and be like, oh, that thing looks cool, and it was hard to make, which it is. But yeah, like the highlight tables where it's really at, because I'm looking at Transport Road, I'm like, hey, 11.9%, that's that 12% from Michelle's thing. Like, that really gets me to information a lot quicker.
It does. I think that, the challenge of the sunburst, at least in this particular one, is only that outer ring is being labeled. So I actually don't have a lot of context as to what the different colors necessarily mean. So we're kind of missing something to say that green stuff is, I don't know, that could be agriculture, and the blue maybe is industrial, or I actually don't know, not opening the interactive one at that moment. And so you really want to have, without interactivity, that high level perspective, at least for your viewers. So I would say somewhere we need to have like energy under, maybe in red, like a little below. So I know, all the reddish color is energy. And then, above that little slice that's green, we have, the agriculture and forest. I know, okay, green, that's what this is. And even if I don't know every segment slice, I know what the big picture is. So I can get some perspective of, energy's a lot, and agriculture and forestry is smaller, and waste and industrial processes even smaller.
I agree. At the very least, I might have ditched the outer annotations where it's telling you what those small segments are, and just put on the big red Pac-Man in the middle, like energy 73%. I'd be like, oh, energy is 73%. And then, sort of by the shape of the chart, you're able to sort of intuit some of the rest, or maybe dig in. And also maybe bring your energy on your table on the right to the top. Since it is making up the bulk of it, maybe just doing a little bit of a resort there to surface that higher, because you're not getting to the 73% anywhere other than on the big red Pac-Man in the middle, which you're gonna have to hover on to get to.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, as we said before, it's like, I think in this case, the two charts side by side, I would say go with one or the other, or kind of have what we've seen before, where if you want the details, then provide them with that, table essentially, because them side by side, they feel very juxtaposed. Like they don't really, it's the same information, but they don't really go together very well from like a design perspective. We have this gray boxy, and then we have this colorful circles. And so I feel like a little, I don't know, taken aback by those differences that, I think I get a little distracted of what should I be looking at? Like, which one should I be looking at, right?
Yeah, this would be another case where I'm like, commit. Like you want your sunburst chart. Like, let's go all in on this and make this the best sunburst chart. Because the highlight table is, in this case, like once I want the actual numbers, I'm looking over there to like the
Right.
10.6s and 10.9s, and I'm sort of having to dig a little harder to get those off the sunburst chart. But if the sunburst chart is what you really want, like if you want this to be like a design piece,
Yeah.
make that the star of the show, maybe make it bigger and actually call out some of those bigger things on there to sort of get the revelations on the right back into that chart.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is one of the places I would say, if you're going to do an unconventional chart, use it to tell a story, because you know that your reader or your viewer is not going to be, it's a little more difficult to interact with everything in here. So it's like, make it so they don't have to interact with everything, but tell the story that you want to tell about, like, what should I get? And if it could be anything. It doesn't have to be what we've seen before about, energy is the biggest. Maybe it's something else, like the forestry, is 24% or whatever it is. And, taking down trees is the biggest part of that. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever the story is, then I can see that, and then I know it, and I'm like, boom, done. I got it. Like, you've convinced me of whatever your story was. And I think a chart like this needs some kind of story, because interacting with it, we know, is a little more challenging.
Yeah, I would just ditch your stuff on the right, add some paragraphs in here, add some annotation,
Right.
and like a little bit of editorial instead.
Agreed. All right, and then we have Sifa, and so she did a mobile one again for Iron Quest as well. And so this one, oops, there's my last one. See if I can pull this up, because she's got a couple things in here. Yes. And this is our last one, other than, yeah, so we've got this little mobile one over here, and it says greenhouse gases. If you breathe air, then you should care. If you care, click here.
I actually really like the font and color choices for this.
Yeah, so what are greenhouse gases? And then it gives me some information. Where are they coming from? We get our donut chart. Oh, view deep dive. I missed that last time. Oh, cool. So here we have like the two things. So we've got some set action stuff going on. Oh, that's nice.
I mean, I love the design of this overall. It is suffering a little bit from mobile in the sense that some of those titles are just so long that they get truncated when they're on a mobile view, and I don't know how to avoid that. And that's just because maybe a deficit of mobile knowledge on my part. But I really like this one a lot.
Yeah.
I think I could give this to my 9-year-old, and she would sort of navigate through it and gain a greater understanding from it, which also means like a 40-year-old could. So
yeah, no, it's super easy navigation. Let's see if we can get back to the homepage. Doesn't seem to be going there. What I will say is, if you're going to do a mobile view like this with kind of these buttons, at least on public, I would hide the tabs at the top, because obviously you want people to be navigating through as if it were on mobile. When it is on mobile, you can't see the tabs anyhow, so that works out. But yeah, I think the colors are great, like really subdued. That neutral background with the green, I think, is really great. I like that choices. We have like the one simple chart and then the deep dive, and kind of what we said before, someone's given me the whole, like, we've got a big perspective on the energy part, and the deep dive at least gives me, in a mobile view, all that other information in more of a table bar chart format. So it doesn't clutter this particular view. And I think that is one of the challenges with mobile, is you have to sometimes direct people to other views so that they can get the information, because you only have so much space. So this definitely drew me in, having the globe there. And you could stop here if you wanted, right? Like, if you don't care about the deep dive and you're just good about, I got my information about the energy, it's a good chart for that.
I love it.
Yeah. I love all these mobile designs. I think they really make you stretch your idea of how do I show data in this small little space. So no, this is good. And the last one was mine, which yeah, I had a hard time this month as well, with time and things. So I did just 2 simple charts. And I had more of this show hide container flow thing to, start and stop different parts of the view.
I like your purpley color. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, so I had actually found the
Like
colors.
interesting passive aggressive now that I'm talking about you.
You think purple's passive aggressive? I
just have to bust your chops. I really do like the purple. So use the container action to sort of pop it open once you click on the button.
Yeah, I've noticed in my business I do a lot of green and purple actually. I don't know why. I think I like the colors together. Yeah, so I just have
And now that it's a live tech demo, there we go.
Yeah. And so I start with just some text, the bar chart. And again, this is more of just a flowing start stop to the storytelling, which we've seen before. And that's about it. Pretty simple charts, literally. They didn't take a whole lot of anything. But yeah, I've been in a place where doing some things in Figma just to explore. And so this isn't like it's not really a great viz, but the reason I was doing it was trying out some other techniques. So I think for any of these, just learning, using opportunities to expand your knowledge and, skills. So
that's one of the best things about public exercises. We saw many people trying chart types that might be new to them or a good practice. And even if it's not necessarily the right use case for it in that case, you got in some reps, you tried something new, and maybe you learned something that worked or didn't work. And even if something didn't work, that's still something you learned.
Exactly. So I think that's the best. So awesome. Well, thank you, Zach. I know we're like at the top of the hour. I can't believe, I'm going through all those. But I appreciate the thoughtful feedback for folks. I hope that that's helpful. And I'm really appreciative of all those that did submit for this month. I think using projects in tandem is like what a great idea. Like folks who submitted for IronQuest use a mobile view to do this kind of data. You get a bang for your buck there. So, but I appreciate all your
talk about them again
insights.
later this month.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Well, thanks, Zach, for joining for that, and I appreciate your time. And have a happy TC20 day one, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. All right. Thanks.
Happy TC20.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.